Hello Legionnaires, this is Maxiel from Legion of Myth, and today we continue the series of the Year Zero Engine games by digging into the Forbidden Lands RPG. This first Forbidden Lands specific episode will be all about the kin or races of the Forbidden Lands game. On the surface, the kin of Forbidden Lands may seem to be the typical racial tropes of any traditional fantasy setting, but I suggest you stick around as each one has an interesting spin. I want to be clear that I'm not going to delve into the history of Forbidden Lands, but I will do my best to not leave you completely confused if historical game context matters in the relation to the kin. Also, this is not a word-for-word excerpt of the Player's Handbook or Game Master Guide. If you want that, buy the books. This information will give you a quick overview of each of the kin of the Forbidden Lands role-playing game. If you like this video, please help us out and give it a thumbs up. And of course, we always appreciate comments. If you like anime reviews, comic book reviews, and other tabletop gaming fundamentals, be sure to subscribe to the Legion of Myth channel. Any and all engagement really helps. I'm going to describe each kin in alphabetical order, so let's start with the dwarves of Forbidden Lands. Along with elves, orcs, and humans, dwarves are one of the 4 primary kin that have had the most impact on Forbidden Lands history. Dwarves believe they are created by their god, Huge, to fill the void of space with matter, so they continue to build the sphere and will continue to do so until the sphere of the world reaches their god's fiery hearth in the sky. Mining for rare minerals is paramount. Dwarves distrust open spaces and are rarely comfortable without a roof over their heads. Some have been trained to move around the upper world in order to plan and prepare their necessary work. Those surface dwarves also have been charged with the protection of the upper world over the past few centuries, especially from humans. Since they live in a meritocracy where competence equals status, dwarves strive to show off their abilities and can become quite quarrelsome. Dwarf clans are always jockeying for position and prestige as the most able of the clans, sometimes to the point of open conflict or a coup. The most common point of contention is in regard to the great work of forging the world. The 4 clans are the Belduranians, Meromanians, Canidaes, and Crombus, and like every other name that I'm going to read off today, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If not, well, that's how it's going to be done here. Moving on. The Belduranians' land is in the extreme northwest of the map and is the main temple for the Stone Singers, sorcerer priests who can affect both mountains and flat ground with their rune songs. Meromanians have been fighting with the humans ever since they escaped the fall of Whaler's Hold, after which most retreated to Beldurland. The Meromanians are warlike, vengeful, and tormented by a bitterness because they lost their homeland, for which they blame the Orcs. They are often openly racist towards humans and orcs. The Iron Hounds of the Canidaes clan live on the surface of the world near the Belduranians and have taken responsibility for the duties of the dwarves on the surface. They fought alongside the Meromanians, but were forced to retreat to their mountain stone garden. The Crombus clan claims they guard all of the Forbidden Lands, though it is unclear against what or whom they protect it. The Crombus get along with the elves and believe they stand above the other dwarves. They believe they are truer to their heritage than the other dwarf clans. The other clans consider the Crombus arrogant, complacent, and prone to meaningless chores such as singing and art. I mean, come on. What self-respecting dwarf would eat fish? To the dwarves, the elves are strange, naive, and lazy, but not enemy. They are part of Huge's plan, given the task of growing grass and trees across the surface of the sphere to keep it moist and to prepare for new layers. Humans interrupted the dwarves' holy task of building the world and tricked their ancestors into accepting the orcs as servants for a piece of land those ancestors forged. Some dwarves see humans as a test from Huge, sent to harden them like iron is hardened by hammer and anvil. Orcs are useless beasts who betrayed the dwarves when the war with the humans broke out. The key attribute for dwarf characters is strength, which gives them benefits for fighting and crafting. True Grit is the dwarven kin talent that allows the dwarf player to push a die roll multiple times by spending willpower. While any kin may be any profession, dwarves typically lean toward fighter, minstrel, and peddler. Moving on to the elves. Elves are effectively immortal without actually being immortal, as an elf's flesh is renewed by the ruby in his chest. From this, an individual can be recreated even if the body is completely destroyed, and as a result, elves are perpetually beautiful, young, and healthy. The spiritual task of the elves is to cover the barren land with life. With this said, elves are not necessarily religious. Instead, they view the gods as honorable teachers. Blood relation does not matter to the elves. Age, skill, and experience is what grants the status accepted by most elves. Other kin divide the elves into still elves and the unruly based on the elf's disposition. On the other hand, the elves see the short-lived kin as fruits that rot in the autumn. Ew. Still elves are usually ancient beings who have lost interest in the affairs of the world. Some become so detached that they go so far as to fuse their rubies with, say, an oak tree in order to transform into an ent, a sentient tree. Still elves did not resist when the humans invaded Ravenland. Why risk your very existence when everything but yourself and the land will disappear in a few hundred years? The unruly come as humorous and curious, angry and vengeful, or any characteristic emotion in between. What they all share is a resistance to the Still Elves' inclination towards lethargy. They want to leave an impression on the world. The Golden Bough is the largest order of druids in Forbidden Lands. Many of the older elves are skilled spellbinders, while most of the members of the order are Elvenspring or half-elves who have adopted elven culture and custom. More on the Elvenspring a little later. Melders are elves who travel through the Forbidden Lands as scientists and artists. The name comes from the custom of these elves to adorn their body with organic patterns. They do this by rearranging the darker sap within their bodies into patterns on their skin. If you can find one, Melders are typically kind, generous, and curious about everything and everybody. Redrunners are elven warriors who've chosen to stay in the Forbidden Lands to defend life with weapon in hand. Redrunners are usually short-tempered, angry, and ashamed of losing land to humans. They also seek vengeance upon the Orcs who betrayed the defense of the land. Redrunners hunt and retrieve elven rubies that have been lost and work as intelligence-gathering organization for the elves. The key attribute for elf characters is agility, which really helps the marksman skill when using bows. Inner Peace is the elven kin talent that allows an elf to meditate for a quarter day in order to remove all attribute damage and critical injuries. While any kin may be any profession, elves typically lean towards druid, minstrel, and hunter. Where there are elves and humans in a fantasy setting, there are invariably half-elves. Lord knows why. Already mentioned previously are the Elvenspring, who are half-elf descendants of the human hostages who were left with the elves in Ravenland during the shift. Many Elvenspring feel contempt toward normal humans and find their smell unnerving. They certainly feel superior to full-blooded humans, who Elvenspring view as primitive and embarrassing ancestors. On the same token, however, Elvenspring feel a sense of responsibility for the miserable humans who have been trapped in the land since the wall went up. Elvenspring worship the creator god, Clay. They have learned the art of nature magic from the elves and handle many of the traditional chores to help nurture nature. Elvenspring druids have taken it upon themselves to fight Zetera and the Rust brothers in the name of the Shard Maiden, the chosen prophet of the god Clay. Elvenspring half-elves are restless and ambitious. which the pure elves believe stems from the half-elves' mortality. They're typically driven by a personal code of honor, are stoic in nature, and want to prove themselves superior to full-blooded humans. Half-elves who grew up with the humans of Alderland heritage are called Freyler. They are the descendants of the elven hostages in Alderland after the shift. Unlike the Elven Spring, Freylers have no concept of duty or of living in accordance to the needs of nature. As such, Freylers are despised by the Elven Spring. Both groups are driven by the same impatience and ambition, but in the Freylers, it manifests as a greedy search for knowledge and power. The key attribute for half-elf characters is wits, which helps them survive and understand the world and people around them. Psychic power is the half-elf kin talent that allows them to better power their druid or sorcerer spells. While any kin may be any profession, half-elves lean toward the druid, rogue, and sorcerer. Now it is time for the goblins and halflings. Yes, they are mentioned in the same breath. Let's find out why. Halflings often live in villages where they work as farmers and gatherers. I mean, if you know what a hobbit is from The Lord of the Rings, or a halfling from traditional Dungeons and Dragons, you know what a halfling from Forbidden Lands looks and feels like. Everyone is happy and tubby, smiling and nodding, singing humorous songs in the inn, drinking and smoking with well-groomed gardens and oiled burrows. Well, that is until the sun sets. That's when they vomit in the flower beds and go home to beat up their children. Drug use, including narcotics, is rampant, though they do keep it well hidden. I mean, come on. Your halfling relatives are so crazy, they're kept in seclusion, and no one in your family will even acknowledge them. On the other hand, your neighbors both hate and slander you when the opportunity arises. So yeah, never judge a halfling by its cover. Now let's go back in time to see what made halflings and goblins the way they are today. As the elves fell to the earth from the red wanderer of the sky, the moon goddess Eor grew jealous and threw down blue moonstones after them, essentially creating the Forbidden Lands version of Dark Elf. When the humans' raven god divided the land, these Dark Elves actually tried to trick the god. As punishment, the Dark Elves were split into two new and unique kin, halflings and goblins, a single kin of two nature. The halflings are ashamed of their past and hide their shame and legacy of deceit behind a facade of good nature and joviality. They have a deep need to sweep problems under the rug and present the image of an idyllic life. The goblins, on the other hand, well, they own it. They're happy with their current situation. Goblins live in nomadic groups that hunt and gather in the forest, with a very liberal view of ownership. They take what they want and what they need, which has given them a well-deserved reputation as thieves. Goblins have no respect for nature. They even view all of the intelligent kin, except halflings, as prey, thus are particularly disliked by druids and elves. Goblins and halflings both continue to worship the moon goddess Eor, with the goblins doing it more openly than the halflings. The two kin are not enemies, but they do not like each other. Halflings want nothing to do with the goblins, while the goblins are less apprehensive when it comes to discussing the halflings. It's much more common for a goblin to come to the aid of a halfling than vice versa. Interestingly, both halflings and goblins each have a random, we'll say 50% chance of giving birth to either kin. When a halfling gives birth to a goblin or a goblin gives birth to a halfling, a swap occurs so that the would-be parents return with a child of their own kin. The key attribute for halfling characters is empathy, while for the goblins it's agility. Halflings have the hard-to-catch kin talent, which can make physical attacks such as grapple more difficult when used against them. Goblins get the sneaky talent, which provides automatic successes to stealth skill rolls. As we already know, any kin may be any profession. However, halflings typically lean towards minstrel, peddler, and rogue, while goblins are often found as hunters, riders, especially wolf riders, and rogues. Okay, what about the humans? Oh, by the raven and the snake, humans, 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 humans. This is going to be a fun one because nearly everything in the game revolves around the arrival of the humans to Ravenland. Again, I'm not going into the history of the game in this video, just know that humans ruin everything. The other kin of Forbidden Lands may tolerate, fear, or openly hate humans, who are viewed as intruders who arrived from across the ocean some 1200 years ago. Nowadays, humans gather in protected villages of 50 to 100 able-bodied adults. Villagers farm, craft, and prepare for threats. Life is hard, but humans always find a way to adapt and overcome. Alderlanders make up the majority of the villagers in the Forbidden Lands. They are the descendants of the humans from the south, and while Alderland is inaccessible from the north, few do arrive to the Forbidden Lands from the south. Islanders were the first group of humans from Alderland to arrive in Ravenland, which is now the Forbidden Land. They were led by the Raven Sisters to flee religious persecution. Many Alderlanders believed the Islanders and the Raven Sisters to be heretics and traitors. The Rust brothers claim the Raven worshippers, backed by the Elves and Dwarves, tried to take control of Ravenland using trickery. While most Islanders keep a low profile and want to live simple lives, there is a murderous sect of fanatics called the Repenters. The Repenters believe that when Alderlanders defied the Shift and moved into the Ravenlands, they were cursed by the Raven God. The curse will only be lifted when all humans have been removed from the Forbidden Land, dead or alive. The lands west of Ravenland and Alderland were once called Asleen. Today, the devastated wasteland of Asleen is known as the Ashland. Asleen humans have a more colorful physical appearance than Alderlanders. They also dress and style themselves more colorfully as well. The clans of Asleen are wise in the ways of war, more ambitious than Islanders, and adhere to strict hierarchies. They worship the fire god Horn, whose physical manifestation is a volcano in their homeland. Alright, I hope this is the right pronunciation, but I'm pronouncing it this way. The Cards are a rider clan from Asleen who emigrated from the harsh clan wars that threatened to wipe them out. To the Cards, skill in the saddle and with the blade are held as the highest expression of cultural heritage. The Galdanes are nomadic and despise farmers for using fences and walls to divide the land they feel should belong to everyone. After many wars, they do not trust Alderlanders, and while there is no open conflict, their enmity for the Cards lives on in song and in story. Above all, they hate Zyguffer and anything that looks demonic, which includes the wolfkin, who I will talk about later. The key attribute for human characters is empathy. Adaptive is a crazy kin talent that allows humans to roll any skill through the use of another skill. What, you have no dice and might, but need to lift a portcullis? Well, if you can make some sort of logical case for it to the GM and spend a willpower, you can roll those 4 dice you have for your crafting skill instead. While any kin may be any profession, humans really mean it. You'll find humans of every profession in the game in about equal numbers. If there is a Forbidden Lands RPG kin more hated than humans, it would be the Orcs. There's even a sidebar in the player's handbook that warns players about being an orc, that it comes with challenges. Adult male orcs are larger than humans, and are gnarled and hairy with tusks that impede speech. Female orcs are human-sized and can even sometimes pass for humans if their yellow-gold eyes don't give them away. According to myth, the god Clay created the orcs to be servants and soldiers for the elves and dwarves. When the humans invaded Ravenland, the orcs were sent into battle. The orcs held their own for quite a while until the humans introduced stronger sorcery and demons. 1 in every 8 orc births yields a female child. Additionally, due to the male's inherent temper, which causes poor judgment, all clans are actually led by females. Rank is paramount to all male orcs, and they always demand satisfaction if insulted. Due to their fierce competition and aggressiveness, only about half of all male orcs live to maturity. and the scars of conflict are considered beauty marks. Losing a fight determines rank but is not considered dishonorable. However, showing fear or surrendering in battle immediately comes with a reduction to slave status. The homeland of the Orcs is Fulenmark, or Clanland. However, Orcs roam throughout the Forbidden Lands. Based on strength and numbers, the Orcs could dominate all of the other kin. Fortunately for everyone, the clans cannot unite as old blood feuds constantly flare up. As I said earlier, the Orcs used to be in the service of the Dwarves and Elves. During the war with the humans, the Elves and Dwarves used the Orcs as frontline soldiery. When the tide of the war changed, the Elves and Dwarves abandoned the Orcs, an act for which the Orcs seek vengeance. The Orcs see humans as weak, cruel, and without honor. They despise humans for their despicable and horrendous use of magic and demons. The Uhur clan claims to be the top of the Orcs' growing civilization. They focus on power, building their city, and demonstrating how Orcs can be cultured folk and builders of empires. To the other kin, they're a comedic parody of civilization. The Roka clan believes itself the most stable of the Orc clans. They uphold a military structure with strict hierarchies and hate magic and demons more than anyone. They value the ability to obey their superiors as much as their responsibility to lead and prove themselves worthy. They are proud of their restraint, as the goal of the Rokas is to be the core of the growing Orc nation through martial excellence and solid character. The Aesir clan despises pretty much everyone, even the other Orc clans, though they do trade and join in primitive clan gatherings with the other Orcs. Due to the harsh trials required to become an Aesir warrior, the survivors grow quite strong and even their saliva becomes venomous. The Viraga clan is an all-female Orc clan that acts as a unifying force among the clans, a shadow government if you will. They believe that their most important task is to increase the knowledge and power of the Orcs. They have a pronounced victim mentality and would not hesitate to die to further the kin. And drifters are those Orcs who have left their clan or who have been banished from their clan. Unsurprisingly, the key attribute for Orc characters is strength, which is pretty much what an Orc's life revolves around. Unbreakable is the Orcish kin talent that allows a broken Orc, yes, this only works when broken, to get back up on his feet. With enough willpower, you may have to kill one Orc multiple times. While any kin may be of any profession, Orcs are usually found as fighters, hunters, and rogues. Finally, we have the wolfkin, a mix of human and wolf. Wolfkin are an unstable kin with diverse looks and personalities and a propensity for rage and madness. They also have an unexpected taste for complex music and can howl in multiple harmonies. Wolfkin despise civilization, worship the goddess Hemi, and believe they have returned to nature and to the original form of their ancestors. Others suspect that Wolfkin may be one of Zygoffer's escaped experiments. Before the lifting of the blood mist, Wolfkin were able to travel freely through it, as long as they remained in the woods. Over time, this has given rise to agoraphobia, or fear of open places, in many Wolfkin. Wolfkin distrust the other kin, but have a connection with the Rust brothers as both were untouched by the blood mist. Despite a shared interest in nature, elves and druids hate the Wolfkin, believing them to be demonic. And wandering and raging Wolfkin are actually called werewolves. The key attribute for Wolfkin characters is agility, which helps them hunt their prey. The hunting instinct's kin talent turns the Wolfkin into a sort of bloodhound who is able to track her prey for days. It also provides a bonus in combat when fighting her chosen prey. While any kin may be of any profession, Wolfkin are typically found as druids, fighters, and hunters. So, what about the other kin? Ogres, Saurians, and Whiners are not discussed in this video because they have not been given playable race statistics yet. Maybe one day they will, maybe not, don't know. But for now, this concludes the kin of the Forbidden Lands RPG. Well, that was fun. Please let me know what you think of this episode on the kin of the Forgotten Lands RPG, and the inability for me to speak apparently, and the Forbidden Lands game as a whole. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to attack that thumbs up icon and share this video with your friends. Those fast actions really help us with the various YouTube algorithmic shenanigans. If you have not subscribed to the Legion Myth channel, now is a great time to do so. While you're at it, ring that bell icon so you can be notified when new anime, comics, and tabletop game videos are uploaded. Now, do you like stuff? Well, I like stuff. And if you're like me, you'll want to check out the Legion of Myth weekly livestream every Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Then you can find that on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. Description will be below. Our hosts Garthon and Heathen Dog provide anime reviews, tabletop gaming fundamentals, comic book reviews, and other nerd topics that should interest you. So what does this have to do with stuff? Well, once per month, they also have Twitch follower and subscriber giveaways. These giveaways include video game keys, Amazon gift cards, as well as both PDF and print versions of various tabletop RPGs. As of the recording date of this video, we have multiple Year Zero Engine games to give away, including the full Coriolis Icon Bundle. One could be yours. Remember, that's Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. If you can't catch them live, you can always watch their past segments on this Legion of Myth YouTube channel. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day.